Imagine for a second that you're staring at a screen. Your cursor is hovering right over the confirm purchase button, and you are about to drop like over $1,000 on a single concert ticket.
Oh, yeah, we have all been there, that exact moment.
Right. But what is actually happening in your head at that exact split-second moment? I mean, does your brain immediately scream at you to step away from the keyboard and save the money? Or, does it whisper that life is short and you should just buy the ticket?
It's totally universally relatable, but the fascinating part here is that your split-second reaction to that checkout screen says far more about your fundamental biology than it does about your actual bank account balance.
Wow, biology.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are pulling from this brilliant book by Scott Reck. He's an associate professor of marketing at the University of Michigan, and the book is called When the Piggy Bank Falls for the Shopping Cart.
Which is just a great title, by the way.
It really is. And our mission for you today is threefold. First, we're going to decode the actual neuroscience behind your specific spending habits. Second, we'll explain why you are statistically, incredibly likely to fall in love with someone who handles money exactly the opposite of how you do.
Statistically almost guaranteed, yeah.
Yeah, wild. And finally, we're going to extract specific data-backed strategies so you can basically stop fighting about it.
And we should probably establish right up front that, we aren't just summarizing fluffy relationship tips here or generic financial advice.
All right. No, this is heavy research.
Exactly. We're examining a massive body of rigorous research. We're talking about fMRI brain scans measuring actual neurological responses to price tags, surveys of over 6,000 people, and a really detailed 2-year longitudinal study tracking exactly how 230 couples navigate their finances.
Yeah.
So we're really aiming to figure out what literally makes our wallets tick.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to understand how couples clash over money, we first have to understand that our reaction to spending isn't just like a conscious philosophical choice.
No, not at all.
It's a physiological event happening inside your skull.
Yeah.
It is hardware, not just software.
Yeah, that distinction between hardware and software is so critical here. And it brings us directly to the fMRI study Rick's team conducted.
The brain scan one.
Right. So they put people inside a brain scanner and presented them with a super simple scenario. They basically said, here is a product and here is its price. Buy it or don't.
Simple enough.
Yeah. They just wanted to see the neurological response to seeing a price tag. And what's fascinating here is that when participants looked at the price, a specific region of the brain called the insula heavily activated.
Wait, the insula, because when I think of financial decisions, I usually picture, the prefrontal cortex, like the logical, math-doing, rational part of the brain that's weighing all the pros and cons.
You would think so, right? But it completely bypasses the brain's calculator.
Really?
Yeah, the insula is the region primarily involved in processing literal physical pain. Like if you touch a hot stove or someone pinches your arm really hard, your insula activates.
Oh, wow. So seeing a price tag literally hurts.
Yes. In this experiment, people were simply looking at a price tag for a consumer good, and their pain centers were just lighting up.
That is insane.
It's wild. The correlation was direct and undeniable. The stronger the activation in the insula, the lower the person's willingness to buy the item. The price was causing a sensation of actual physical distress, which just completely suppressed their desire to purchase it.
Wow. And that neurological reality basically sets up the two main financial profiles that Rick identifies in the book, right?
Exactly.
So first you have the piggy banks, and they make up, what, about 25% of the population?
Yeah, roughly a quarter of people.
And for them, spending money causes intense, real psychological discomfort. Like when they see a price tag, their insula lights up like a Christmas tree.
Right, the pain signal is just much more intense than it is for the average person.
So they might know, logically, that they desperately need a new pair of shoes because, their current ones literally have holes in them. But they physically cannot bring themselves to hand over the cash.
Exactly. Because of that hardware difference, piggy banks view numbers through a completely different lens. They automatically, almost involuntarily, convert prices into opportunity costs.
What do you mean by that?
So a $400 jacket isn't just a jacket to a piggy bank. In their mind, it instantly translates to, well, that's 1 month of utility bills, plus a week of groceries, plus maybe 3 cheaper jackets.
Oh, man, that sounds exhausting.
It is. That constant calculation triggers further discomfort in the brain, which just reinforces the urge to hoard resources to feel safe.
So, if you're listening to this and you've always judged a friend or maybe a partner for being like overly frugal. You really have to consider this analogy. If you were standing outside in winter and you noticed someone beside you was shivering and feeling much colder than you were, you wouldn't judge them for it.
Right, you wouldn't yell at them for being cold.
Exactly.
Right.
You wouldn't call them weak or crazy. You would just accept that their body runs colder than yours. And we really have to start looking at piggy banks the same way. Calling a piggy bank stingy or cheap is essentially passing a moral judgment on a physiological reflex.
That is perfectly said. It's an involuntary reflex.
Yeah.
And then, of course, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have the group Rick calls the shopping carts.
Ah, the shopping carts.
Yep. They represent about 15% of the population. And just for context, the remaining 60% sit somewhere in the middle. They're generally balanced. But those extreme shopping carts, they experience essentially zero pain of paying.
Zero pain. None at all.
None. The spending friction just flat out doesn't exist in their insula.
Which, I mean, that creates a fascinating cognitive blind spot for them.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because shopping carts can clearly see their income, but their expenses are practically invisible to them.
Right. They just don't register the money going out.
Yeah, Rick highlights this great experiment in the book where participants were asked this hypothetical question. They were asked, if your income and your expenses both increase by $1,000 next month, how much more available money do you have?
Well, the math dictates the answer is zero. It cancels out.
Right, basic math. But the extreme shopping carts consistently reported feeling like they had almost $1,000 more to spend.
Wait, really? They just completely ignored the expense part.
Exactly. The concept of the expense just didn't register emotionally. And once they open their wallet, the threshold for future spending plummets. It triggers this, like, what the hell effect, where buying one item somehow justifies buying 3 more.
Oh, there's this incredible story in the source material about the legendary entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. that illustrates this blind spot perfectly.
Oh, I love this story.
Yeah, he was a classic shopping cart. So he once spent $600 having a cigarette case engraved as a gift for a friend. And his friend was shocked and asked if that wasn't a bit too expensive.
And what did he say?
Sammy Davis Jr. just shrugged and said, I already owe the bank $100,000. What difference does another $600 make?
That is amazing.
And by the way, $600 for a cigarette case back then. That is like buying a used Honda Civic today just to hold your breath mints.
It's wild, but that encapsulates the shopping cart mindset beautifully. Their financial calculations aren't based on absolute numbers. They're based on relative comparison.
Right.
Next to a mountain of existing debt, a new purchase feels tiny, so they just make it without feeling any neurological pinch whatsoever.
And we should definitely emphasize here that being a piggy bank or a shopping cart has almost nothing to do with your actual income level.
No, not at all.
Like, you can be a piggy bank making $500,000 a year. You save everything. Your credit score is totally flawless. But you suffer from what researchers call money dysmorphia.
Yes, money dysmorphia. It's a real issue.
You genuinely feel poor and anxious, despite having immense financial security. Your actual quality of life takes a severe hit because you live in this self-imposed state of scarcity.
And conversely, you can be a high-earning shopping cart and still find yourself completely drowning in debt because the money just flows through your fingers way too quickly.
Because there's no pain to stop it.
Right. Both extremes essentially represent a fundamental imbalance in how a person manages their resources. One sacrifices the present out of this irrational fear of the future, and the other sacrifices the future out of an impulsive need for the present.
So if our individual brains handle resource management this differently, what happens when you put a piggy bank and a shopping cart under the exact same roof? I mean, usually human beings look for partners who are similar to them, right? Similar education, similar age, similar hobbies.
Yeah, usually we look for mirrors of ourselves.
But when it comes to money, the data shows that opposites absolutely attract.
The statistics on this are staggering, honestly. Among married couples, 58% are mixed pairs.
Wow, over half.
Yeah, one piggy bank, one shopping cart. They are literally the most common financial pairing to end up at the altar. It far exceeds couples who actually share the same financial mindset.
I guess it makes sense when you view it through the lens of the dating ecosystem. Like, the dating phase heavily rewards novelty and complementary traits.
Absolutely.
The piggy bank looks at the shopping cart and sees this free spirit, They think life with them is going to be an adventure. They pull me out of my shell.
And the shopping cart looks at the piggy bank and sees grounding stability. They think, I feel secure with them. Life with them has a solid, guaranteed future.
Right, and this is but the charm is intoxicating during courtship. But transitioning from the dating ecosystem to the marital ecosystem is a jarring shift in behavioral incentives.
It's a totally different game.
Marriage demands daily resource management. It's an endless negotiation of groceries and electric bills and car repairs. And very quickly, those complementary differences that spark the initial attraction just mutate into daily friction.
But here's the crazy part. On a purely financial spreadsheet, they actually make a great team.
Wait, really? Because I look at those numbers and think that's a perfect symbiosis. The piggy bank acts as the financial brakes, and the shopping cart is the engine. Shouldn't that be the ultimate dream team?
The data actually proves that they are. If you look at double shopping cart couples, they have a decent savings rate of about 55%, but their credit card debt rate is massive. It sits at about 64%.
Thanks.
Yeah. And then double piggy bank couples have incredible finances, like an 88% savings rate, but they report a remarkably low quality of life because they literally never allow themselves to enjoy the fruits of their labor.
So where do the mixed couples land?
The mixed couples find the mathematical sweet spot. They hit a 57% savings rate and only have about 41% credit card debt. So they objectively achieve better financial outcomes than the double shopping carts and a way better lifestyle than the double piggy banks.
Okay, so the shopping cart ensures they actually enjoy their lives, and the piggy bank ensures they don't end up bankrupt. Why does this dynamic cause so much unhappiness then? Because there is a hidden cost to that mathematical sweet spot, isn't there?
A massive psychological cost, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They pay for that financial stability with significantly lower marital satisfaction.
Wow.
The wider the gap in their spending attitudes, the lower their relationship scores drop. The constant push and pull basically acts like sandpaper on the intimacy of the marriage.
Just constantly grinding them down.
Exactly. And that's because fights about money between a piggy bank and a shopping cart are rarely actually about the dollars and cents. They are about identity. They are about feeling fundamentally misunderstood by the person who is supposed to love you most.
Ah, so they're essentially speaking two completely different emotional languages.
Precisely.
Like when the piggy bank complains about a purchase and says, "You're wasting money again," the shopping cart doesn't process that as a critique of a household budget. They hear an attack on their character.
Right. They hear, "You think I'm immature, you don't respect my judgment."
Yes. And when the shopping cart says, "You're being too cheap, you need to loosen up," the piggy bank hears, "You don't care about our future. You are completely irresponsible with our family's safety."
Both sides feel utterly convinced that they are the sole voice of reason. The piggy bank believes they are single-handedly protecting the family's survival.
And the shopping cart believes that they're trying to remind the family that money is just a tool for living, not some high score to be hoarded.
Exactly. And neither can easily understand the other's visceral reaction. You can't just ask one partner to compromise, because even if the piggy bank verbally agrees to spend the money, their insula is still firing.
The hardware is still saying, ouch.
Right. They still feel the physical discomfort. The underlying neurological reality hasn't changed just because they lost the argument.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because simply trying harder or forcing some white-knuckled compromise clearly doesn't work. So the solution actually starts with how each individual can actively trick their own brain's hardwiring.
You literally have to hack your own biological system.
Let's look at the piggy banks first. If their insula is treating a price tag like a physical burn, how do they bypass that pain response?
The most effective strategy for a piggy bank is to consciously change the frame of the purchase. They need to shift the label in their head from an expense to an investment or to ownership.
How does that work in practice?
So if a piggy bank is looking at a $1,000 pair of high-quality running shoes, the internal narrative of "I am spending $1,000 on shoes" will immediately trigger pain.
Right.
But if they reframe it as "I am investing $1,000 in 3 years of joint health and avoiding future medical bills," the psychological resistance plummets.
The book points out the brilliance of that famous Patek Philippe watch ad campaign for this exact reason, if you've seen it.
Yeah.
The one that goes, "You never actually own a Patek Philippe. You merely look after it for the next generation."
Oh, yeah, it's brilliant.
It is an absolute masterclass in marketing directly to the psychology of a piggy bank. Because you aren't wasting money on a frivolous luxury item for yourself.
Yeah.
You are securing a timeless family heirloom for your children.
It completely bypasses the guilt center of the brain.
It's so smart. And speaking of guilt, the other great hack for piggy banks is setting a rigid, predefined indulgence budget.
This is a crucial tool. It basically involves setting aside a specific fixed amount of money every single month that is explicitly labeled for irrational, fun spending.
Just fun money.
Yep. Because many piggy banks actually do want to enjoy life, they just freeze up trying to determine what is mathematically reasonable in the moment.
Right, the calculation paralyzes them.
Exactly. By creating this budget, they grant themselves permission in advance. The money's sole designated purpose is enjoyment, which means spending it isn't a failure of self-control. It's actually successfully following the plan.
That is so clever. So that handles the piggy bank's need to reduce friction. What about the shopping carts? Because they had the opposite problem. They need to artificially introduce friction where none naturally exists.
Right. They need speed bumps.
So the first and biggest hack for them is to just change the payment method. If you're a shopping cart, you need to start paying for things with actual physical cash.
Yeah. The research on this mechanism is definitive. Paying with plastic or a digital wallet is simply way too smooth. Abstract numbers changing on a screen do not trigger the insula.
It doesn't feel real.
No, it doesn't. But handing over physical bills forces the brain to register the loss of a tangible asset. People who use credit cards are actually 30% less likely to even remember how much they spent compared to people who use cash.
30%.
Yeah. The physical act of handing over paper money creates a necessary neurological pause.
And the second hack builds right on that concept of the pause, right?
Yeah.
The 24-hour rule.
Oh, this is a lifesaver for online shopping.
Yeah, if you're shopping online, put the item in the cart, but force yourself to close the laptop and sleep on it. The chemical wave of desire peaks in the exact moment of discovery. And if you just wait a single day, that dopamine spike usually crashes, and the item suddenly just doesn't seem so essential.
Exactly. And a third strategy for shopping carts is to force themselves to make opportunity costs concrete.
Because piggy banks do that automatically.
Right, piggy banks do it to their own detriment, but a shopping cart has to do it manually. Before buying a pair of $2,000 designer shoes, they need to stop and explicitly ask themselves, if I don't buy these shoes, could this exact same money fund a weekend getaway for my partner and me?
It makes the alternative real.
Yes. By pitting the impulse purchase against a tangible, highly desirable alternative experience, the scale can finally shift in their brain.
Well, those individual self-improvement hacks are brilliant for managing your own brain. But it doesn't totally solve the shared battlefields. Because when you share a life, you have to buy gifts for each other, you have to raise kids, and most crucially, you have to figure out how to structure the actual plumbing of your bank accounts.
Gifts are an absolute minefield for mixed couples.
Oh, I bet.
The modern instinct is just to ask the other person what they want to guarantee they like it. But the data suggests this carries a massive hidden relational cost.
Why is that?
Because by asking, you miss the opportunity to send the deepest signal a gift can convey, which is, I pay attention to you. I remember that passing comment you made a month ago.
And both types fail at this, just in totally opposite directions. Like, the piggy bank will see what their partner wants, but then go out and buy a slightly cheaper generic substitute because it feels more rational to their brain.
And the partner just feels like they weren't worth the full effort.
Right. Meanwhile, the shopping cart will buy something wildly expensive and flashy, but completely miss the small, thoughtful things their partner actually cares about, because the act of spending doesn't require any real sacrifice or attention from them.
The exact same dynamic applies to raising children, too. Piggy banks and shopping carts will endlessly debate how to allocate resources for their kids.
So what's the data say about that?
The data offers a really clear compromise. For material things, listen to the piggy bank. Studies show that kids with 16 toys exhibit significantly lower focus and worse quality of play than kids with just 4 toys.
Wow, so less is actually more.
Yeah, over-providing material goods stunts creativity and breeds this baseline of materialism.
But for experiences, you have to defer to the shopping cart, right? Like family trips, going to a ball game, taking an art class together. Those experiential purchases pay emotional dividends for years in the form of memories and family bonding.
Exactly. You rationalize the toys, but you fund the experiences.
Okay, but hold on. I have to push back on the biggest battlefield of all here. The bank accounts. Because the prevailing wisdom for modern, independent couples is to keep everything separate to avoid these exact frictions, isn't it? Like, you keep your money, I keep mine, we split the bills, and we avoid the arguments entirely. It just seems cleaner and, don't know, more evolved.
I get why people think that.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the data tells a completely different story.
Really?
This is where the depth of that 230 couple study is so revealing. So these were newlyweds, tracked meticulously over 2 years. One group was randomly assigned to merge everything into a joint account.
Okay.
The other group was told to keep their accounts entirely separate. Over those 2 years, the couples with joint accounts maintained their baseline marital satisfaction. But the couples with separate accounts saw a significant, measurable decline in relationship quality.
That is wild to me. Just the plumbing of how their money was routed actually damaged their marriage.
Okay.
What is the psychological mechanism driving that?
It comes down to the underlying architecture of the relationship itself. Keeping separate accounts naturally fosters what psychologists call an exchange relationship.
An exchange relationship.
Yeah. It is fundamentally based on reciprocity. Like, I paid for dinner this time, you pay next time. You covered the electric bill, so I owe you for the groceries.
I mean, it sounds fair and clean on the surface.
It does, but quietly, it requires you to constantly keep score. And keeping score is totally toxic to long-term intimacy.
Because it makes the marriage feel like a business transaction between roommates.
Mm.
Whereas a joint account fosters what researchers call a communal relationship.
Exactly. In a communal relationship, you give because you care about the other person's welfare, not because you are logging a debt to be repaid later.
Right, it changes the whole vibe.
When all the money flows into one central pot, it literally ceases to be my money and your money. It becomes our money. Every time you log in and look at the balance, it subliminally reinforces the psychological unit of us.
That is so powerful.
And remarkably, the study found this holds true regardless of income disparities. Even if one person makes vastly more money, merging accounts removes the hidden corrosive power dynamic of who is supporting whom.
Which is exactly why the researchers strongly warn against the allowance system.
Oh, yes.
That's the setup where the high earner keeps the main accounts and just transfers a set amount to the lower earner every month. I mean, that might sound nice in theory, but it creates a toxic parent-child dynamic.
It absolutely does.
One person is the benevolent giver, and the other is a dependent asking for permission. It just breeds deep resentment. So if totally separate is bad and allowances are toxic, what is the ideal data-backed setup?
The research points to a hybrid model.
A hybrid.
Yeah. All income, regardless of who earned it, goes into one primary joint account. This covers all shared expenses, the mortgage, the bills, the groceries.
Okay, so the us money.
Right. But from that joint account, each partner automatically receives an agreed-upon free spending budget routed into their own separate individual accounts every single month.
So it honors the us, but protects the me. The piggy bank can hoard their free spending money and watch the number go up, and the shopping cart can blow theirs on a ridiculous gadget, and neither has to explain themselves to the other because the shared obligations are already met.
Yes. Which introduces this vital concept of semi-transparency. Many financial gurus preach total transparency in a marriage, but the researchers found that to be a huge mistake.
Why is total transparency bad?
Because if every single dollar is monitored in a single joint account, you ruin surprises. A thoughtful gift just becomes a line item on a shared credit card statement. And worse, total transparency creates unnecessary friction over tiny, cheap items that just wouldn't have mattered otherwise.
Right. You need known unknowns.
Yeah.
You know your partner has their own spending money, and you trust them with it, but you don't demand an itemized receipt for how they spent it. It's just a mature level of trust.
Exactly.
And establishing that trust really requires us to throw out some common financial advice, like the infamous latte factor.
Oh, man. This raises an important question about what money is actually meant to do in our lives.
Right.
The latte factor is that classic guru advice. If you just stop buying a $5 coffee every day and invest it instead, you'll be a millionaire in 40 years.
Which everyone has heard a million times.
Right. The math is mathematically sound, but the underlying assumption is incredibly flawed when applied to a shared life.
Because it assumes all consumption is just a waste of capital. It completely ignores emotional and relational value.
Exactly.
The book gives this heartbreaking example of a piggy bank husband who refuses to go to the local cafe with his wife just to save $5. He just sits home alone drinking tap water while she goes by herself.
It's so sad.
It is. He won the financial spreadsheet that day, but he lost a moment of connection with his spouse. And over decades, that is a terrible trade.
Which is why couples need to rewrite the underlying story they tell themselves about money. And you can only really do that through regular, calm financial conversations.
Not stressful audits, right?
Yeah. No, definitely not interrogations that only happen when the credit card bill is alarmingly high. You need a calm ritual where you sit down and align your broader goals.
You have questions like, what did we spend money on this month that actually brought us joy? Or what did we buy that we regret? It turns money from an emotional landmine into a shared project.
And you start to realize that your partner's contrasting view isn't about controlling you or being irresponsible. They just have a fundamentally different imagination of what a secure, happy life looks like.
And that imagination can absolutely be bridged, because money is just the proxy. Underneath it all, the piggy bank is terrified of losing control, of losing the hard-won security that keeps the chaos of the world at bay.
And the shopping cart is terrified of missing out on life. They're terrified of reaching the end of their days and realizing they merely managed a spreadsheet instead of actually living.
Both of those fears are profoundly valid.
They really are.
So what does this all mean? It means that understanding your financial opposite isn't just a tactic for avoiding arguments over the electric bill. It is a skill you can learn to actually build a better, more empathetic life together. But I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over today. Think about the modern digital world we are living in right now. We exist in an era of one-click buying, invisible digital wallets seamlessly integrated into our phones, and algorithmic targeted ads that know exactly what we crave before we even realize it ourselves. Our entire digital economy seems perfectly engineered by design to weaponize the shopping cart's cognitive blind spots. It makes spending utterly frictionless and invisible. But at the exact same time, that frictionless environment completely alienates the piggy bank, who desperately relies on tangible friction to feel a sense of safety and control. As technology continues to make spending easier, faster, and more invisible, we have to ask ourselves, are our financial apps just going to eventually destroy our relationships? Or will future tech finally learn to adapt and customize itself to our specific, hardwired financial brain types? Something to think about the next time you casually tap your phone to pay for something. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, and we will see you next time.